Welcome to the Pop Culture Podcast.
A soda podcast by the Soda Boys
Now,
and guests.
Brian.
Yeah.
Brian. So, while I was registering emails and accounts and all that, I discovered something.
What's that?
Soda Boys is actually used for something else.
Oh.
A very niche comic drawn in what looks like MS Paint.
I don't doubt it.
And I feel like we'd be stepping on a few toes.
Probably.
But
Probably.
I mean, let's just keep this going because they're a comic medium, we're a podcast medium.
If we spell ours with an I instead of a Y, does that make it better?
Well, I already registered the email. So,
that's okay.
Yeah, all right.
Well, we'll be fine.
We will be fine.
If they come after us, we'll just point out that they're an MS Paint webcomic, and we're clearly the more elitist format of a podcast.
Honestly, I think the MS Paint webcomic is actually pretty nice. I've only seen the stickied panel on their subreddit that has 1,600 subscribers last time I checked around there.
Well, this is the official unofficial shout out for the Soda Boys comic out there.
Yes, it is it's an okay comic.
Yeah.
I don't read many comics.
We give it our seal of mediocrity.
Yes, I'm Jonathan Dwan.
And I'm Brian Litt. And joining us also we have a guest.
I'm Oriana. What's up?
Yep. This is my girlfriend. She's just in because might as well. We get a third voice on it. She gets to try some soda and see our very amateurish setup.
Brian here brought her under the guise of her wanting to see where we record. And as we both pan our heads and look around,
it's
something.
It's something.
It's very professional.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be talking today. This is a surprise.
Only the highest quality push pins and thumbtacks were used to put up these blankets and towels.
I don't think we've ever mentioned our setup because we didn't mention it in the first episode. We alluded to how it was very hot in this room.
Yeah.
But just for clarification, in order to have some makeshift soundproofing, we push pinned a bunch of blankets to the wall.
This is what, like an 8x8, 8x10 something room?
Yeah.
Pretty small. No ventilation to speak of.
Yeah, no. The blankets block it all.
Fortunately, it just rained, so it's not as crazy hot everywhere, but it's still a little warm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess without further ado, we can name the beverage of choice for this episode here. Today, I've brought in Cheerwine, which you may be familiar with depending on what part of the country you're in. Anywhere south of Virginia, it's pretty common, but anywhere north, they likely haven't heard of it. This is, let's see, it's pretty old. The label says 1917. As the name kind of implies, Cheerwine, it's got a cherry taste, but this isn't just straight up cherry. It's just like a cherry-esque cola. Very nice, very old school looking bottle. I think you can get it in cans as well. Wegmans is a good place to look for this one.
Real sugar, it says.
Yeah, no, it's an old school recipe. It's pretty good. I enjoy it. I drink it when I can. It's not too hard to find in this area if you know where to look. I don't think that's in any like Giants or Shoppers, but like I said, Wegmans has it.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, here we go. It's twist off.
Yeah, I thought it was
Oh, anyways, gotta use my shirt there. I need one of those professional like rubber things for jars to grab these off.
Oh wow, fizzy.
Yep, yeah, it's a fizzy one.
Oof.
It'll settle in a bit, but yeah, you gotta pour this one slowly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a couple months since I've had one of these.
Oof.
Like the thing it most tastes like to me is a red Tootsie Pop.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah. Like especially when you're at the end of it and it's still covered in candy, but you can taste the Tootsie Pop through it. This is basically what it tastes like.
What is this?
I don't think they list every ingredient on it. Let me see. Yeah, it's fake cherry, but then other natural flavors to add to that.
Please recycle, no refill.
Yeah, a friend of mine introduced this to me at a D&D party back in high school. He brought a case out. I'm assuming from a Wegmans or somewhere, and I was hooked.
D&D, for those who are unaware.
Dungeons and Dragons, a role-playing game created by Gary Gygax in the 70s.
Also used for satanic rituals.
As you are well aware of the comic and movie Darkest Dungeon. We're going straight to hell.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's pretty good. It really caught my eye because the cans have red pull tabs on them. Something you don't see very often, colored pull tabs.
I thought they got rid of those to save the dolphins and stuff.
Oh no, like the just pop top ones on cans.
Oh,
like
do
the
they
little ones.
stay attached?
Yeah, they stay attached.
Okay, alright.
I forgot what the actual name for those are, but they're red. Like, you know how Monster makes theirs green? They're red on the Cheerwine ones.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, I grabbed a bunch and I used them to make a little chainmail dice bag. I don't know where it is now, but it looked cool.
I think I've seen it one time.
Yeah, I had a little one and then I made a bigger one since then. Anyway, it seems like we've gotten the first impression of this out of the way. It's pretty tasty. Oriana, would you like to sip and give your 2 cents on this?
He's right on the money about the Tootsie Pop thing. It definitely, like, if you love cherry candy, you're gonna love this.
My taste buds might be out of whack, but I think this tastes like tomato.
What?
Actually, you know what?
I just...
Like a sweet tomato, you know
Yeah.
what? It's right on that line.
I think this tastes like tomato.
I disagree.
Take another sip. That's crazy, but you know, after I've drunk this for years, and you're not wrong. Like, it's mostly cherry for me, but you're not. That's a not out of left field.
This tastes
Okay.
like a sweeter tomato. I just...
You know, tomato's not that bad a taste.
It's not that bad a taste. I like tomatoes and tomato-based products.
It's tomato cola.
Oh, was that empty?
Yes, it was.
Okay, good.
Minor crisis averted here.
I'm just gonna de-icify this,
Oh, yeah.
purify the flavor.
Oh, no, now we have to worry about 2 cups. Alright, let's just move stuff on this table to make sure. I think it tastes like tomato.
I'm not seeing the tomato thing. You guys can.
I understand where the tomato's coming from. It's not what if I closed my eyes and someone told me I'm going to give you a tomato soda, and then I tried this, like when it was warm, maybe I would agree. I'd think this is tomato, but like knowing that it's cherry, my brain is telling me it's cherry, so that's the bias in there.
No, I taste the cherry. It tastes like cherry at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then it has like this weird sourish aftertaste.
You are very right on that, actually.
And
the flavor swing.
that's what makes me think of tomato.
Mm-hmm. That is, yeah, and that's a good point to bring up with a lot of sodas, and you get this mostly in smaller scale glass bottle craft sodas, is the flavor tends to change between your first sip and the aftertaste. Like Coke and Pepsi, unless it's some weird flavor of it, usually the first sip's going to taste the same as your aftertaste, but a lot of these little craft sodas, you can tell how many different, you know, how layered the recipe is by how much the flavor changes in your mouth.
I personally am not a fan of that. That's why I just dislike diet soda, because of that change in aftertaste is especially strong.
Oh, yeah. No, in diet sodas, that is a totally different change. That's just the sweetener agent becoming bitter in your mouth. But actually, I've got a couple I'll show you, or have you taste that might be a better example of it. That's more, yeah. You want to get the really like botanically brewed, all organic sodas. Fentimans is one that comes to mind. It's kind of. It's not bitter per se, but it's not super sweet. It's another cherry one, actually. I might grab that one for a future episode, actually. Those are neat. But yeah, some of the more traditionally brewed ones that are all natural with cane sugar, it'll shift from one flavor to another flavor without getting super bitter. It's a little better than this one, actually. This, compared to other ones, this is actually a pretty stable flavor. Which, if I had to put a number on, I would say a solid
For taste? This is for taste, right?
Yep, for taste.
Oh,
First,
wait, go over your 4 points.
yes, the 4 points. So, first point, flavor, or, taste, flavor, that I give a score out of 10, and a brief rundown as to why I gave it that. The second one is a combination of balance and smoothness, how easily, like how it feels in the mouth, how well it's all mixed together. Again, score out of 10. Then drinkability. That's the X factor of a drink, which is anything weird about it. If it feels weird in your mouth, if it sits weird in your stomach, that goes into drinkability. And then an overall score out of 10, which is not actually an average, but instead just my overall feelings on it based on what I thought was most important. So, first point for flavor. Let me take another sip. This one is interesting. I'm not sure if I'd give it... I'm probably leaning toward an 8, or between a 7 and an 8 on this one.
Really, that high?
Yeah, maybe a 7.5. If I'm doing decimals, I give this a 7.5. This is, again, for personal preference. This is in no way a critique of how well it's put together, but what I think when I drink this. If it was warm, I'd probably give it a 7, but once it's chilled, I'd give it a 7.5. And for context, all drinks that we drink on the show are chilled either with ice or the bottle has been refrigerated.
It's a heathen's way.
We're cutting that out. We can't have that.
Gotta stick to script.
I am not pro ice and soda.
Okay, now, this brings up an interesting tangent. When I go out to eat, I will not have ice in my drink.
Yes.
Understandable.
When I go out, only when I go out. When I'm at home, at my leisure, I will put ice in my drink.
See, the thing is that, like, I don't care. That's just an extra step between me and the soda. No.
Well, I'm talking about, like, drinks in general, not soda, specifically.
Your waters
Yeah,
and
your
water
waters,
things. Yeah.
orange juices.
Ice water, yeah, but like chilled water. Let's consider that without the clunky stuff in it.
That is another good point, because when presented the option between a warm bottle of soda that is poured over ice or a chilled bottle of soda poured directly into a glass, I do tend to prefer a directly chilled bottle of soda. However, that just wasn't an option for us today, unfortunately, due to the nature of it being very warm outside. But, yeah, some of them, like a Virgil's, if I can avoid it at all, I will never pour a Virgil's root beer over ice, because that just, that messes with a very well-made flavor. That's a good tangent to bring up, though. Anyway, if we're moving on from there, I have to go to the balance and the smoothness. This is a pretty balanced one. You brought up how it changes flavor, which I find a little bit of a novelty in drinks. I enjoy it when it's done well. It's definitely not done poorly with this.
But not well here. Not well here.
Not well, but not poorly. I've definitely... Like
mediocre.
You said,
It's okay.
It's mediocre. Like I said, it's not a diet soda where halfway through you suddenly taste the aspartame and want to puke. I mean, and they do make a diet version of this, which I have not drunk in a long time, so I can't remember exactly what the difference is, but I do remember it's not as good as the standard one.
I mean, what diet soda is.
No, yeah. Although, if you noticed, Pepsi is now proudly saying that they no longer make their diet sodas with aspartame.
Really?
Yeah, no, they've cut that out. So, although for some reason I don't think that's the main reason most people weren't drinking Diet Pepsi.
Oh man, I used to be a Diet Pepsi Max guy. Just because...
With the black label one?
Yeah, because it had so much caffeine in it. That's the only reason why I drank it. It tastes like piss water.
That's a valid reason, though. If you need that rush.
I'd have like a 6-pack in my locker at school, and
my
God.
Before
first period, I'd down one, and I'd be wide-eyed.
You poor soul.
Oof.
That did not last long.
No. I had coffee. I had a giant ass thermos of coffee. It was like 32 ounces. I found a big old antique thermos at a thrift store, cleaned it out, and I would use it for coffee. I drank way too much. Yeah, but to get back on track, if I had to put a number on the smoothness for this, I'd probably say it's the flavor shift is kind of odd, but it's not jarring. It's not, even though it fizzes a lot, the carbonation doesn't really eat you from the inside out.
Unlike Coke.
Oh yeah, I did not like Coke when I was a little kid.
Oh boy.
but
I
this
was
one-
always, I was raised on Sprite, and I didn't have Coke till I was like a teenager.
It's a big difference.
It
It's a
is.
big difference. The difference in fizziness in sodas, and it varies from can to bottle to machine. That's another thing to look at. But for this one, I'd probably give it a solid. I'm not even sure about this. I'm looking between a 6 and a 7 for the smoothness on this one. Maybe I'm leaning a little more towards 7 on that. Only because I've definitely had way worse. Anything that's like really cheaply made is way worse than this, but some of the better stuff is moderately better than this. So yeah, final score for smoothness, 7 out of 10.
Respectable.
Getting to the bottom here, but yeah, and then after that, drinkability. There isn't really anything of note in this. It doesn't leave so much of that sticky residue on your teeth that other ones have. They don't really super load this with sugar. I ate just a moderate amount of food earlier in the day, and it's not sitting uncomfortably in my stomach. You noticing anything?
In terms of drinkability?
Yeah, it's not anything that sticks out more than a different soda.
No, it's pretty average.
Pretty average.
Carbonation's a bit high.
Yeah, it's a little high, but it having poured it into ice, it has gone mostly flat by the last couple sips.
Yeah.
Which is very typical. I've never had a soda that stays fizzy the whole time. I don't know. I'd put this at a little above average for that.
I mean, the thing you have to realize about putting soda on ice,
Yeah,
we are actually reducing the solubility of the carbon dioxide.
that is a good point. So is that less fizziness or more fizziness?
Less.
Less fizzy. Okay, good point. Good. That is a good point to consider while drinking your sodas as well. Now I've got to do tests. I got to compare now for my own personal interests.
All right.
But I guess if I had to give this a drinkability score, I would rate it because it's above average. I actually would rate that high because that doesn't disrupt from the drinkability. Drinkability scores tend to run higher because a lower score means it's not as fun to drink. So this one, probably an 8 or 9 because there's nothing that really stops it from being drinkable. I think probably an 8, solid 8 for drinkability on this. I could see myself having 1 or 2 of these at a party. And that's for me, that's a lot because since I can't burp, carbonated beverages, I'm usually one and done. But yeah, so 8 out of 10 on drinkability. I guess that brings us next to the overall score then. What are your thoughts on this? Anything else you'd like to say before we figure this out?
I'm not particularly fond of this.
Understandable. It's a weird flavor if you're not like a fan of cherry or fruity sodas.
Yeah.
It's an older flavor. Like if you've tried.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
If you've tried like the throwback recipes of Coke and Pepsi and RC Cola and other things that are from about the turn of the 20th century, it's very similar to that. 1917 according to the label. So that's a mostly unchanged recipe, other than obviously preservatives and whatnot, and the advent of artificial flavoring. But this probably tastes very similar to the way it did 100 years ago, and you can really tell that when you compare it to other sodas. I'd probably give this. Here's the tough part: 7 or 8. 7 or 8. I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10 total. But I would also, with the caveat that I would highly recommend this for people who are fans of cherry cola. If you haven't tried Cheerwine and you find yourself somewhere that happens to sell Cheerwine, try it out. I think it's pretty good. I think you won't be mad at this unless you really don't like cherry cola. Or if you're looking for a soda that just vaguely tastes of tomato, give it a try. Because he's right. It does. If you really focus on it and just picture a big old juicy tomato in your head when you're taking a sip of this, you can taste the tomato. That was pretty good.
It was.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add? Any other random culture to add to this pop?
There's something about this soda. I mean, I can't put my finger on it. It's like.
It's different.
It is different. I mean, it's. Yeah, you're right. It is. It tastes. Like, you can tell it's old.
Yeah.
You can tell it's an old recipe.
I don't know if we've described it, but the bottle shape is also pretty old school. It's relatively straight walled. It's got a band around the center where it's perfectly smooth, and then kind of ribbed around the sides. Think a classic Coke bottle, but without the curvy shape. In fact, if you look at a Coke or Pepsi bottle from the mid 20th century, like the 50s or 60s, it's very similar to that.
A lot of gas is coming up now.
What was it?
A lot of gas.
Oh, you
is coming
noticing?
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like getting.
I'm
I've
not.
tried to muffle my like internal burps, but
I haven't felt too much of that yet. I'm sure that's from the crazy amount of carbonation that first comes out of this.
yeah.
I haven't drunk this from a can since the first time I had it, so I can't compare it, unfortunately. And I don't believe you can get this in a plastic bottle.
I see.
Yeah, but I don't think they've ever done any other flavors. I think Diet is the only variant of this you can find.
I've never heard of Cheerwine up to this point.
Yeah, no, we're about we're in Northern Virginia, and from what I understand, we're about as far north as you can get without not being able to find this. Like if you go anywhere south of here, people have heard of this. When I hear people talking about sodas who lived in like Georgia or Carolina, they'll mention Cheerwine just out of nowhere. But the people I know who grew up around here don't really know about it.
Georgia, really?
Somewhere I know it's Coke's country,
Yeah.
but it exists down there. I mean, when I look at the label, it's got a little bit of that like southern hospitality feel to it. It's pretty basic, just kind of it looks like the label of something from the early 1900s. Pretty standard font, kind of arching a little bit.
The dotted border with the line.
Yeah, it's simple, but still, it's I don't know, elegant might be the word I'm looking for. It's not in your face, but at the same time, it's not words on a color.
100 years.
Yeah, this they
We're
still
now
have,
101.
yeah, 101. They still have you can still get them with the 2017 sticker on the neck. I feel like they're probably going to have that on there for a couple years. I don't know. In terms of how nice this is, I'd put this up there with RC Cola, which is another one that people tend to forget about, but has been around for a little over a century.
No, I've never had RC Cola, and I know your brother is obsessed with it.
It's a running joke because it's a soda that no one's heard of, but it's been around almost as long as Coke and Pepsi. It stands for Royal Crown Cola. That one you can find in cans and 2-liter bottles now. I don't believe they make them in glass bottles anymore. But yeah, it's if you're a fan of Coke and Pepsi and want to taste something that sounds or tastes literally like the two of them got mixed together, RC Cola is pretty good. Drink it, unless you don't want to.
So is that it?
Yeah, I think that's about it for this episode of Cheerwine.
It's not called Cheerwine. It's
Fuck.
not.
This episode. Pop culture Cheerwine episode. Okay, guess we're gonna send it off then.
Yeah, all right. I've been your co-host, Jonathan Dwan,
And I'm your other co-host, Brian Lint.
with special interjection guest.
Sup, Brianna?
This has been Pop Culture.
See you guys next time.